Hey Prof, in this video I want to reflect on our ubon trip in December of 2024 when we conducted our first major set of workshops and launched the Bamboo Learning Center. And since you were there, I'll focus more on what I learned from that experience. I think the biggest shift for me in this trip was moving from exploration to execution. In July, we were mostly learning and observing, but this time we were actually responsible for delivering, running workshops on bamboo planting, maintenance, handicrafts, and furniture, coordinating volunteers, and making sure everything came together. And that made me realize how different execution is from planning. Because on paper, things seem straightforward, but in reality, there are so many moving parts people, materials, timing, and everything has to align. Another thing that stood out to me was the role of people. We had so many volunteers from Ubon Rajasthani University, and we also connected a lot with students our age, even with language barriers. And through that, I realized that collaboration doesn't always depend on perfect communication. A lot of it comes from shared intent and willingness to help. We also set up the children's bamboo library and a small bamboo museum using Ajinsamai's collectibles. And the idea there was not just to create something for workshops, but to build a space where people could come even outside of structured activities to explore, learn, or just spend time there. And that made me think more about impact differently, not just as events, but as spaces that people can continuously engage with. I think another important part of this trip was the conversations we had about Bamboo One's direction forward, because this was when we started thinking more seriously about what our goals actually are and how we move from one off activities to something more sustained. And that ties into one of my biggest takeaways, which is the importance of follow through. Because a lot of the people showed interest during the trip volunteers, students, collaborators. But I realized that initial interest doesn't mean much unless we actively follow up, like keeping track of the contacts, maintaining communication, and continuing that exchange of value. Otherwise, those connections just fade away. And I think that was something I hadn't fully appreciated before. That building something like this is not just about creating opportunities, but about sustaining relationships over time. So, overall, I think this trip shifted my perspective from just running activities to thinking about continuity, not just what we do in the moment, but how it extends beyond that through people, through spaces, and consistent follow through.